Ravens flock, the flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. The second week of OTAs for the Baltimore Ravens is in the books. Not as many veterans showed up this week. Lamar wasn't there at all. He was there only one day last week. I don't really have a super strong opinion about Lamar not being there. As a fan, in a perfect world, do I wish that the starting quarterback was there for like every practice to build as much chemistry as possible? Yes, but I also understand that voluntary OTAs in the very beginning of the season is not that important, really. There's so much time left to build that chemistry. We got mandatory minicamp coming up in June, training camp around the corner after that. There's going to be a lot of months here where Lamar's going to be there day in and day out building chemistry. So it's definitely not a big deal. I'm not overreacting that Lamar's not there. This whole week, a lot of veterans didn't show up. It was a lot of younger guys getting a lot of reps. Most of the wide receivers were present this week, though. Zay Flowers, Rashod Bateman, Tez Walker, Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace. I think the only one that wasn't there is Deontay Hardy, but Harbaugh said that he just had a baby, so that was the reason that he wasn't there. But Rashod Bateman's getting a lot of praise, a lot of hype. Mark Andrews said in his press conference that this is Rashod's breakout year. Nate Wiggins also said that Rashod Bateman has been the toughest wide receiver that he's had to cover.
Probably Bateman. He's just shifty, a lot of quickness in the route. So,
who do you have the most fun guarding?
Most fun? Probably Zay Flowers. Yeah.
I'm loving all this Rashod Bateman hype. I think that as long as he stays healthy, he is the answer as our number 2 receiver. I know a lot of people are hesitant about it. I'm only hesitant about the injury history. I'm not hesitant about his ability to go out there and perform and his ability to develop chemistry with Lamar. I know a lot of people have been saying that he's had time with Lamar before and they still haven't been able to figure it out like last season, but he hasn't really had an off season with Lamar. He hasn't had a full training camp with Lamar. Last season he was hurt until early to mid-season, and then he finally got back on the field, but a foundation has already been laid in the offense there. You know, it's hard for Monken to immediately trust Bateman and start calling plays for him and get him involved. It's hard for Lamar to just be looking at Bateman when he's already been used to throwing to Zay and Mark and, you know, likely eventually. So I think that having a full offseason, having them together in minicamp and training camp, heading into the season, as long as everyone stays healthy, Rashod's going to be more than good enough to be our wide receiver too. I really believe that he is headed for a breakout season, just needs to stay healthy. Rashod also had some interesting comments on his contract situation in the extension. I'll just play this clip.
Because for one, I didn't know what was going to happen with me. I didn't know if I was going to be here, you know, traded or anything. So, you know, the extension definitely came out of nowhere. Blessed for sure. I did not see them doing that. But it shows that they believe in me, believe in my work.
I think it's super interesting that he had no idea what was coming. He was like, I didn't know if I was going to get traded, if I was even going to be here. And then, boom, they offer an extension for 3 years. And he's like, it's a no-brainer. And obviously, we've talked about this extension before, but it's a value deal. You know, given Bateman's injury history, the Ravens were able to lock him in for a few years at a steal of a price. It's basically $6 million a year. If you've been watching these other receivers around the rest of the NFL cash out, it's not even close to $6 million a year. Jalen Waddle's got 28. Nico got 20-some. You know, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are going to be well above 30. And we got Rashod for 6. That sounds like good business to me. And I think that Rashod's going to have a couple years here to really stay healthy and prove himself, and then he'll get a bigger contract down the road. But the Ravens are getting a great value. Rashod's getting a great opportunity to be one of the main weapons in this offense, and I think he's going to thrive. Another player from Rashod Bateman's draft class, Odafe Oweh, has been also getting some hype, saying that he's been dominant early in OTAs. Now, they don't have pads on. We've seen Odafe Oweh be dominant before. He's obviously an athletic freak, so I'm not reading too much into this, but it is something to talk about. It is something that is real. He is looking great. He's dominating in OTAs, and I think that that'll just continue to trend. He's another guy that has to stay healthy, has to stay available, and he's going to be one of our premier, if not the premier pass rusher for the Ravens this year. So we're going to need production from Oweh. He's been close for years. I really feel like he's set up to have that Matt Judon, Zadarius Smith year where he really breaks out. Justin Matabike last year. I know it's a slightly different position, but just that type of, hey, I'm heading into my final year. I know this isn't his last year. They did pick up his 5th-year option next year, but free agency's around the corner for Odafe Oweh, so he knows that he has to produce, and that's usually when Ravens rushers produce, is when the money's on the line. So I'm expecting big things from Odafe Oweh this year, just like I am Bateman. I think that this is the year for both of them. I think this is a huge, huge year. If they aren't breaking out or playing well this year, the Ravens are going to head in a different direction from a pass rush standpoint and a wide receiver standpoint. So I think this is a huge year, and I do have confidence in both of these guys. Been a lot of young guys at OTAs this week, but a couple standouts has been Nate Wiggins. Everyone's raving about his speed, his quickness, his competitiveness, his willingness to learn. So I'm excited to see how he progresses throughout this offseason and what kind of role he's immediately going to have in this defense. I'm not really sure exactly how big that role will be. I think we're going to need to see some preseason and training camp and see that whole situation play out. But I have confidence in his ability to get on the field. I just don't know how big of a role that's going to be, but he's going to be playing a lot of ball in this Ravens defense and is going to be obviously a huge contributor as the years go on. The only complaint I ever hear from anybody is his weight. He's too skinny, but he plays super physical. He's only 20. He's going to put on some pounds. He already has that play physical, play violent mentality, and I think I value that more than some weight, you know what I mean? Like, you can always put on weight. You can always hit the weight room. You can eat more, but you can't always change someone's mindset. But I think he already has the right mindset. He's got a lot of confidence. He seems to be carrying that confidence right to the NFL, and that's what I love to see. I'm super high on Nate Wiggins. I've been high on him since we stole him in the draft, and I just can't wait to see what kind of role he's going to play this year. Another young guy who's in his 2nd year that's going to be stepping into a big role is Trenton Simpson. He's been balling out. Isaiah Likely in his interview said that Trenton Simpson came out of nowhere, broke up a pass for him, and he's another guy that's got a lot of speed. I think it's like 4.4 speed from a linebacker position is crazy. So I think him next to Roquan is going to be exciting. We got some flashes of Trenton Simpson last year, especially in that Steelers game, and I would just expect to see a lot more of that. I think him being next to Roquan is like having a coach right next to him. It also helps that his former linebacker coach, Zach Orr, is now the defensive coordinator, so he knows all about Trenton Simpson. I think that Trenton Simpson's in for a huge year as well. I don't know if this will be, you know, his peak year. I don't think that this season, his first year as a starter, we're going to see the best version of Trenton Simpson, but I think he's going to contribute a lot to this defense, make a lot of plays, and then as the years go, can step into pretty much what Patrick Queen was. I really believe that that's possible next to Roquan, so we'll see how that plays out too, but I'm super excited about Nate Wiggins and Trenton Simpson. These are young guys that are going to play really important roles for the Ravens this year and for years to come. A free agent guard that we were eyeing up, Dalton Risner, re-signed with the Vikings, so that's off the table. So at this point with the offensive line, I think the Ravens are going to roll with what they got into at least training camp just to kind of see how this plays out. So it is looking like Ronnie Stanley's definitely going to be the left tackle. Voorhees probably left guard. Tyler Linderbaum definitely center. Cleveland probably right guard, and then there's going to be a battle at right tackle. I would believe Roger Rosengard in the 2nd round pick's probably going to win that over Falele, but we'll see. I think that there's healthy competition across the line. I just really hope that somebody steps up and dominates and earns these jobs, and it's clear cut. But the Ravens are just not going to roll out a terrible offensive line. If there's a move that needs to be made, if they're in training camp and they're just like, ah, man, like, I'm not loving what we're seeing from Ben Cleveland or whatever at right guard, like, Eric DeCosta is not going to hesitate to pull the trigger and bring in more competition or make a trade to go get a guard. I just think that there's so many moves that we can make. We just going to have to see what these young guys have already, because it would be ideal to not have to make another move if these young guys that we drafted and invested draft capital into in previous years can step up to the table, then that's perfect. But if not, I'm sure a move will be made. So I'm a little uneasy about it because there's so many unknowns with the line. It's such a change. There's a lot of responsibility thrown on to some young guys that just haven't proven themselves. So that's what I'm uneasy about. But I really do trust the Ravens to make sure that there's a solid offensive line out there. I just cannot imagine them being like, oh, well, it's not great, but here we go. I can't see that being the case. This team is too good. This team is ready to win now, and I think that they will do everything possible to make sure that this is the best offensive line out there. But we'll see how it all plays out. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are about OTAs and everything going on right now, and what's your confidence in Bateman, and what's your confidence in the offensive line, what's your confidence in Odafe, Oweh. Drop your thoughts below. I got another special guest, another Ravens content creator coming on next week. I'm trying to make sure that I'm collabing with everybody possible. If somebody doesn't want to work, then whatever, but I'm trying to get this community together, man. I feel like all these Ravens content creators should be working together. I know a lot of you guys watch multiple creators channels, so I feel like it's super cool for us to come together and collab like I did with Engraven on his channel and on this channel last week. So I'm going to just try and keep that rolling and get as many people on here as possible. So we got another guest coming next week. You guys can drop some guesses who you think that might be, but I'm pumped for it. I'm excited. And I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.